Every morning is a new beginning, marked by rituals that ground us. My day starts with energy, working out, reflecting in my journal, and contemplating the day ahead. Amid the familiar rush, there's a moment of calm as I savor my morning coffee. A simple pleasure that feels like a warm welcome to the day. I always lean towards a classic coffee flavor, rich, chocolatey, with a hint of nuttiness. It's the kind of taste that feels like home, perfect for every morning. And there's the Honduras coffee. It's a brew that stands out with lively hints of orange and nuanced chocolate undertones, leaving a refreshingly lemony note as temperature dips. It's the kind of coffee that turns an ordinary afternoon into an occasion, not meant for the daily grind, but savored in those rare, quiet moments. Sure, it's a superb coffee, contributing its distinctive character to my espresso blend. Yet, its allure lies not in routine but in rarity, a special guest in the carousel of our coffee experience, reserved for times when ordinary simply won't do. And yet, as much as I appreciate this coffee, it's time to kill it from my offerings. What the f? Let me explain. Have a couple of notes and everything. We're gonna drink, sip, and talk about this coffee. I've had this coffee for about almost a year or so, and it was quite expensive. It was about close to $4 a pound or something like that. It's organic Honduras coffee. The main keynotes are orange, and the orange isn't as sweet as I would like it to be. So I did want to talk about briefly of what goes into my mind as a roaster and what I look at for a coffee, so to speak. Because it's very important that I do get to a place to where people are liking the coffee a lot more than what has happened already, okay? So let's go ahead and take a sip. A little sweetness on it. Orange forward. I'm gonna let it cool down for a little bit. But let's go ahead and talk about the reasons why I wanted to not use this coffee in my lineup anymore. One of the things I do have going for me, or what people have told me, and that's what I started to do with the business is that the coffees that I purchase is balanced and flavorful. And in this case, just because it's organic doesn't mean that it reached those criteria. It is one of my best sellers too. But the thing about it is that it was a one-hit wonder, so to speak. Meaning that people would just buy this coffee once and that was it. And right now, as I'm drinking this coffee, I'm drinking it actually in the afternoon. And the thing about it is that to me, this is where this coffee really shines. And a lot of times when I do drink coffees, I base it off of what people are drinking in the morning because that's what they drink most of the time. And at least for me, I like this coffee more so in the afternoon because it gets a little too orangey taste minus the sweetness. It's not like a tangerine. The tangerine has a big, juicy, orangey taste and it's sweet, right? This coffee isn't so much like that. So let me tell you some of the reasons why I'm going to not use this coffee on my website anymore. The first thing is it's hard to roast. Believe it or not, it has a very weird window to where if you roast it too fast, it's going to be too acidic. And I think it lends better if you roast it a little bit longer. But then you'll lose the appeal of this particular coffee. So in order to get it in the right, degree for people to love and enjoy, it can be difficult for me to get there all the time. So it means that it's inconsistent to people. So that could be it too. The other thing is, which I think is more critical, is it's hard to brew. It has a very small window too in the brewing aspect of this coffee because you can drink it right now. It could probably be really tasty, but it gets to the point to where you're really wondering what else can this coffee bring. It's very one note type of feel. And the sweetness is hard to get out of this coffee. It doesn't need like a 50-50 split of sweetness and acidity. It just needs a bit of sweetness to carve off a little bit of that orangey type of acidity on the cup. So again, I'm looking more so for it being in a place to where people can enjoy it each and every time. And that's not so much the case with this coffee. So what am I planning to do about that? How I'm going to discontinue this coffee? And the biggest thing is I'm gonna roast it darker. And I'm sure you're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, right? You wanna go ahead and roast it darker. But the approach to it being a little bit darker is that it still needs to be roasted a lot slower. So then the sweetness can be more apparent in a cup. So then it can kind of mimic a little bit more of a traditional type of dark roast. So that's the ways I'm gonna go about it. Play around with it that way. But still realize that this coffee can still get out of control if you roast it too fast. So that's one of the things that I'm gonna be worried about or concentrating on and seeing how that works out for the clientele and all that stuff. So the reason why I'm bringing this up really is to let you know that we all roasters kind of go through this from time to time. And it's not that we're trying to mislead you or anything like that. We're just trying to make sure that the coffee does taste the optimal for you in whatever brew method that you do use. And that's always a thing that we always play around with. So in this cup, I did dial it in pretty well. It's less orangey. There's a little bit of sweetness, but it's just okay to me. And I have to realize that I'm not the client. I'm extremely judgmental in the way I go about selecting coffees. I tend to go for coffees that are more crowd pleasers because that's what people gravitate to mostly. And that's extremely important, you know. So do realize that we as coffee roasters go through things and trying to analyze the coffee to make sure it does taste well for you. So what I'm gonna do about this, I'm gonna use a little bit as much as I can for my espresso roast because this plays a big part in that. But once that is done, I will bring in different coffees in order to introduce more so like a similar type of taste to customers and clients and all that. So that's what I got for you right now. So I hope that you learned something and put it in the comments. Tell me what else you will want to know. Tell me if what I'm saying does make sense or doesn't make sense, or you kind of feel it the same way certain times when you do get coffees. So there we go. Well, I'll talk to you later. Till next week.